In the dark, I play my dreams. Permaculture flows like sweet streams. I'm the daddy with the know-how seed. Creating the world like it's meant to be. Permaculture, P-I-M-P, I'm the king. That's in love in everything. Bringing change, making it last.
Welcome to episode 391 of the Permaculture Pimpcast, where PIMP stands for Permaculture is My Passion. The only Pimpcast on planet Earth where we discuss permaculture, preparedness, practical living, and sometimes prostitutes.
Permaculture, P-I-M-P, with soulful grace. In the Pimpcast, where we find our place.
Oh, yeah, good to be here with y'all. Episode 391, almost hitting 400. How about that? This episode, as always, brought to you by Hickory Ridge Soap from TwoOldCrowsHomestead.com. Turn that simp into a pimp. That's what I'm talking about, folks. Look, I'm not going to go through all the other advertisers today, except for one. That's going to be EMF Rocks. Don't worry, we'll come to that in a minute. But, folks, I mean, I did this interview before, but we did it on Rumble. And, of course, the audio platform got a little bit of hay out of it as well. But I didn't do it on YouTube. But the issue is so darn important that I had to get back with Dr. Frandson and talk about, hey, is there a YouTube version of this that we could do? And plus, I had a whole list of questions with him the last time. I had a list of 30 questions, and I think I might have covered 4 or 5. So we're going to see if we can, chip away at that list a little bit more. But the biggest reason I wanted to do this again is because this is one. Okay, folks, let me just stop for a moment. Let me just stop in my tracks. Is anybody gone to Twitter as of late? Did you hear what just came out yesterday from Trump himself saying that, hey, here we are at 5G. Yeah, 6G's right around the corner. Folks, do you have any idea? I got a book right here on my desk called The Body Electric, written by Robert O. Becker, talking about, good night, man. I got a number of other books over here as well, talking about the deleterious effects to our health that every single step that we think in progress, that we're moving forward, we're actually not doing that. We're destroying ourselves in the process. So we're going to try, and you may have to some extent or another, kind of, look in between the raindrops that we offer here, because I'm not sure what we can or can't get away with on here, but I decided to go ahead and risk it on YouTube because I really think the topic is that darn important. And with that said, I'm going to bring back Dr. Justin Frandson. How you doing, Doc?
Billy, so good to see you.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you can make time to do this because this is so incredibly important. I don't know if you're aware of the story. I just kind of brought it up a moment ago where Trump had just come out in a matter of fact on a tarmac saying, yeah, we got 5G. Here I am signing this stuff, and 6G's right around the corner. You heard about that story?
Yeah, it's incredible. They're allowed to go up to 300 gigahertz, so they're allowed to turn it up, and we're just getting started with everything. So people are feeling anything right now, hang on, because they keep turning it up every day.
Man, it's blowing my mind because my wife actually figured this out the other day, that every single time I have to drive into town to Asheville, we live out in the boonies, but every single time I drive into Asheville, man, we both feel lethargic, just not ourselves every single time. And you're, of course, surrounded 360 by all this stuff, EMF. In fact, Doc, you might find this interesting. I went up to a lady who had a Tesla out there, and I went out with my RF meter, and I said, hey, would you mind if I tested your vehicle? She's got it plugged in, and she's outside of a Whole Foods. My wife had to go in there anyway to go get some stuff. And as she's in there, I'm like, well, you know what, man, let me go ahead and find out. I don't have any problem with anybody saying no. Bro, this thing was pegging before I even got to the car. I asked the lady if I could test it, and she said, yeah, no problem at all. I didn't even open the door yet, and this thing was already pinging off the charts. So for people that are new to the topic, Doc, how would you explain EMFs in simple, everyday language for the people that don't know? Because almost certainly there's going to be some people in this audience that don't know.
Yeah, definitely. This is a really fun topic once you start to understand just the physics of how everything works. And we're electromagnetic beings. Every living organism has a resonance, and we're essentially act like a capacitor. So we emit energy, as you can feel Billy's energy when he walks in the room, and we can,
Damn.
yeah, it's good stuff. And then we can receive it too. So we do that through these things called scalar waves, or waves that are unpolarized. They distribute equally in every direction. So that's a framework of the resonance of every living being and how we interplay with nature. And nature's resonance are unpolarized as well, like the Schumann resonance. It's the healing pulse of the earth. You're not grounded in one spot and then you step over to the right and you're out of it. The whole ground is ground. It's a resonance that comes up through it. And same as what I spoke on at Dr. Brian Ardis's conference, Healing for the Ages, where we met in Dallas, Texas. If you drop a pebble into a pond, the resonance goes out equally in every direction. Why doesn't it go in a straight line? Well, it's because of these scalar waves. They're just distributed equally in every direction. They're unpolarized. And that's a framework for electromagnetic fields, these waveforms that we're one with and we're one with nature with. And to the contrary, all non-native EMFs, they're one directional, or they don't work. So every facial recognition, which I spoke on, it has to be pointed at you. If you turn it away from you, it doesn't read you. They're one directional waveforms. Same with these cell tower panels. They have panels facing every direction. They're one directional, or they don't work. So there's a fundamental just physics makeup on how we're different than the non-native EMFs.
So, because of you, and folks, if you weren't tuning into the version that I did on Rumble a while back, it was because of Dr. Frandson that now on my little camera here, I know you can't see it on this phone right now, but I was holding it up there for a moment ago. I got tape. And by the way, I think I was telling you the last time, Doc, I had no idea the extent to which they were shining these lasers back in our face. And I'll tell you when it first became known to me. And this was probably 3 years ago. There was a guy out here doing some groundwork for me, and he was using one of those laser levels to try to, figure out exactly what he was going to do. I kid you not. The phone was interfering with his laser level, and then he was sitting here fooling around with it, and we ended up doing a video on it on YouTube, or at least I think he did on his channel. And I kid you not, just holding his phone in front of that receiver for the laser, it was pinging that thing even when the phone was off. So I was like, okay, something ain't right here. And then it all came together when I heard your presentation. When I watched your presentation, you had everybody's jaw on the floor, because I think a lot of us in there had no idea the extent to which these cameras, anything facing me, bro, I keep this thing in the red light setting all day long. And number two, I got that thing covered up because, as you were saying, it's reading how many different parts of your face. Even when you don't have it on, this thing is blowing my mind.
Oh, yeah, Billy. So when you have facial recognition on your phone, it doesn't turn off once your phone turns on and you can start to use your phone. It's tracking with 30,000 laser dots, infrared, flood illuminators, 30,000 laser dots. It's tracking every micro movement, facial expression, reflex, primal reflex of your body, and then sending it off to AI so they can learn from you. And it's a lot for our bodies to feel. And what I shared in the conferences, when I'm doing these conferences, I go to several a month. I'll muscle test probably about 600 people a month. There is not one person in the last handful of years that I've muscle tested that when we have a phone up to them, pointed out their face, that has facial recognition, where they test strong. Not one person. Everyone goes weak.
Including me, because he tested me while I was there. And we're going to talk about some of those mitigation strategies. So folks, you want to stick around for that. And by the way, the ones in the chat, if you would, hit that thumbs up out there. Tell them to go ahead and start suppressing this information, because the powers that shouldn't be don't want anybody out there knowing that we have this stuff going on. And by the way, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in capital letters and we'll see if we can get to it to Dr. Frandson. I want to swing back to these EMFs. I know you covered it a moment ago, but I'm hoping that maybe you can go into a little bit more detail. people think EMFs. Clearly, they're not all the same. Could you kind of put an exclamation point on that and describe it? Because they don't have the benefit right now of seeing the presentation where, for me, it made perfect sense when you're talking about the pebble in the pond. It distributes in all direction. Well, I mean, is it more concentrated when they're able to focus this thing in one direction? I mean, our bodies aren't built for that. Exactly what's going on with us every time we're interacting with these things?
Well, it's chipping away at our energy field, which then in turn chips away at our chemistry in our body. So Bruce Lipton will say, you have to have chemistry, energy before chemistry. So if there's something in your energy field that is affecting that, when you go ahead and you actually have something directed at you, it messes with the chemistry of your body. So that's a big, big thing. So we got to look at how that stuff's affecting us. And basically what it does is it's a long list, Billy. I mean, it messes with your voltage gated calcium channels. It slows well, let me say it this way. Those are four big words for the gateway for your cells to derive energy, the voltage gated. So your cells just don't get energy right out of the gate from this stuff. So it just breaks down it's oxidative stress at the cellular level.
Yeah, totally unnatural. And I can feel it every time I go to a city. I mean, I live in the boonies, or, even being in the studio, being around, this is the only real time I'm getting bombarded. And of course, I'm grounded all the way up. And then I have some other mitigation strategies that Dr. Frandson has provided. When I got to be around this stuff, man, I'm G'd up from the feet up, y'all. And we're going to come to that here in a minute. But I do have to ask, because it seems like it's always been women. I don't know if there's anything to this, but why is it some people seem to be more sensitive to EMFs than others? I mean, why do we not all behave the same? And every time there's somebody that is, it always seems to be a woman.
Yeah, and that's a great question. I don't see if it's always a woman, because my wife, I think negative blood types have been shown to test more resilient to it. And and my wife she just isn't fazed by it as much as I am. At least she doesn't feel it as well. But literally, it depends upon your makeup and your genetic makeup as far as your predisposition to it. So if you are little and you have a ton of heavy metals in your system, your body's more of a conductor. You're carrying more wattage in your system. When you walk by a tower, your body's going to magnify that and amplify that and be more of a conductor. And then it's going to really mess with you more. But if your bucket of fullness of toxicity is empty, you're not going to have the challenges with it. So it's the same with loading the body up with toxicity of stuffs, and then have one thing being a tipping point. But that's basically the tipping point for some people. So we got to keep our methylation pathways open. We got to consistently do detox and flushing protocols. We got to keep doing grounding protocols to flush your biofield and get any of the energy stuff detox, because you can detox and flush your biofield. And so you have to work on that external environment and then also the internal environment, as we all know.
Now, okay, since you brought that up, man, I may be getting on shaky ground here, but I'm going to ask it anyway, man. I'm going to risk it because so many people are asking, and I'm definitely chief among them. So here it is. We got 5G right now. We got 6G. They're talking about rolling out right now. Every single day, Doc, we are getting bombarded with this garbage that's dropping from the sky. I mean, I'm seeing it all over Twitter. Every time I turn around, it seems to be one other person reporting, man, every time I put anything out there on YouTube, any social media platform, people are blowing up saying, man, this is ridiculous. I've never seen it so bad. So are you aware of how it just seems to me a synergistic attack? I talked about 5th generation warfare and how it's applying to all of us here, where it's not soldiers necessarily coming to your house, but they're hitting us in all these different ways, whether it's electromagnetic, whether it's the water we breathe, the food we eat, the air, I mean, you name it. do you have any thoughts about what they're doing, what they're dropping? You know, because you were talking about detoxification. I mean, how do we manage this environment?
Yeah, great question. I mean, you nailed it right on the head. We're getting bombarded in multiple ways, and to understand the gridding that goes on in the air, for sure. Barium, strontium, aluminum, graphene oxide, like those are common ingredients that are known to be dropped down, and so if we're getting them from the air and then it hits our skin or breathe in our lungs, you got to do those binders to help chelate and flush that stuff. I mean, this is we get it from our food. We get it in pans, bad cooking pans. We'll get it in dental stuff. I mean, the only place you're allowed to legally put mercury, other than toxically waste disposing it, is in someone's mouth. So
Unbelievable.
I mean,
Unbelievable.
so we just it's just common sense. We're just talking common sense here, and starting to understand what is being or I should say being aware of our environment. And we're making this podcast or talk a PG one, so I'm refraining from saying a lot, but this is basically, we just have to be really aware of our surroundings. And one of the cool things I want to share with people is we can convert things. Although there's a lot of nefarious stuff that we just got to be aware of, we don't give our power away to it. So if we don't fear it, it's not going to hurt us. If we keep our life force up, our energy up, it's not going to hurt us. Dr. Darren Weissman, one of my friends and colleagues for many years, he is a chiropractor, and he does this thing called infinite love and gratitude. He calls it the lifeline technique. He uses that sign for sign language and says infinite love and gratitude at the same time, and it can clear something. So if I look up and I'm like, oh, gritting beyond, I go infinite love and gratitude to me, to the sky, and then any of the air going in me. And right there, I've basically normalized what I'm breathing so it doesn't affect my body. And we could do that with anything if you're eating, consuming, anything that goes in your body, you can normalize it so it doesn't affect you.
Man, let's I better steer away from that topic a little bit, because the powers that shouldn't be certainly don't want me touching too much on that. But let me go ahead and hit the house, because I mean, most of us are going to see our home as our fortress of solitude. So what are the most common EMF sources around the average home?
Oh, definitely. You're going to look at just all electricity. I mean, and what was it? 1889 was the first time we put electricity into our home. And ever since then, on the pie graph, all the major health challenges that everyone knows about have gone up on that bar graph. Like literally every single one of them. The one consistent variable is just electricity, low level vibration, which is interesting because from Dr. Martin Paul's work, we know that low level or faster speeds of 4G, 5G, 6G, whatever it is, they act really similar, where those voltage gated calcium channels open up and it messes with the body. So it's more of a longer term process to affect you. But literally, electricity in your homes, all the wireless signals in your home, smart devices. Josh Del Sol did a great documentary movie on the smart meters on your home called Take Back Your Power. Check that out. It's a great documentary. And so you see it across the board. The other big one that a lot of people aren't aware of is they think solar is going to get them off the grid and be great. Well, it causes lots of static in the line, which in turn, if we plug a Stetzer electric meter into the wall, you'll see levels that are anywhere from 5 to 10 times higher than allowable levels for dirty electricity in your home from his Stetzer electric meter. And then in addition to that, what's really interesting and most people don't test is the whole electric car fad. And I call it a fad because it just really isn't sustainable. There's no infrastructure to support it. But when you plug a electric vehicle in your home to charge it at night, you throw that electrical grid off. So if
Right.
you had a properly wired and grounded home, you turn your home into a dirty electricity home. So solar and electric cars being plugged in throw off your entire home as well.
Doc, I'm so glad you brought that up because I had neglected, as a 30-year journeyman electrician, IBEW trained. I mean, I can absolutely positively vouch for that this dirty electricity, I mean, if everybody didn't have all these little devices and things like that around right now, of course, we would have, it certainly wouldn't be clean, but it wouldn't be as dirty. And yes, I have those meters and I've tested, and man, there were some folks that had us over. Oh shoot, it was I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, and they were off grid, and they had their entire house on solar, and sadly, the solar panels were hooked to the roof. There's two good reasons why you shouldn't do that. Number one, there you go. Yeah, number one being your roof will leak if you put solar panels on your roof. Number one. Number two, the dirty electricity that it's creating in that home will absolutely positively blow your mind if you put one of those meters on it and check it out. And it was also Dr. Jack Cruz talking about, man, there was a doctor, an MD that came to him, and he was having all kinds of cardiac issues. Turned out, what was the biggest culprit? Solar panels on the roof. So I'm glad you brought that up. Everybody thinks, oh, I'm off the grid and I'm doing all this stuff. Well, I can provide a pretty comprehensive list from the top of my head as for all the reasons why you might want to rethink some of this. It's definitely not putting it on your roof. I mean, that's one of the worst places to absolutely put it. But since you brought that up, I'm wondering now, I want to get into mitigation strategies here in a little bit, but if I remember right, you did say that distance was a pretty good mitigation strategy when it comes to some of these things. Like, women, man, it drives me crazy. They'll be out jogging or whatever, and they got their phone like in their bra, like right over their chest. And my wife used to do that, and I used to get all over her about that. And she doesn't do it anymore, but she would work out, and that's where she'd put it. I'm like, man, this is absolutely awful idea. Would you agree with that? And what are some good mitigation strategies? Possibly distance?
Yeah, 100%, Billy. Anywhere in the body where you have more tissues, you're going to absorb more of that non-native EMF in that area, and it'll localize it. So they call it an absorption rating, SARS absorption rating. And every inch the phone's further away from you, the less you're going to absorb it. So if you can have your solar panels way off, if you do really want to be and have solar and you're just set on it, you got to have them way away from the home. And even the battery, especially the battery that stores it, have that way away from the home. And of course, any wearable device, that's what got me into this whole EMF world. Is I started athleticism.com almost 30 years ago, working with amateur and professional athletes. And we had one of the strongest, fittest guys come in wearing a smartwatch, and he had localized pain right in his wrist. And I said, hey, take the watch off. And because that was this time when those Fitbits were being recalled from too much radiation on the device. Takes it off, his pain goes away. And this is the biggest, strongest dude you've ever seen. And so that's what got me into this. So we know that if you're having stuff on you, whether it's your wrist, your ear, which, the earbuds, it's an airway canal directly to your brain. There's no skull blocking it. You never want to have phones next to your head. Remember, the antenna is on the top part of the phone. So you want to have that top part pointed away from you, and then use speaker and keep it away from you. And then no laptops over your reproductive organs, because those areas will absorb 10 times the amount of radiation than any other part of the body. So just some common sense usage protocols for sure.
I'm glad you brought up those wireless earphones, man. And I see everybody wearing those things. I took my RF meter, and my niece used to wear these things, and I was like, okay, and if I can show her, maybe it'll move the needle a little bit, of course. Well, I said, let's go out. We went out on the front porch, and I live in a place where there's like the only EMF out here, well, by and large, is what you provide. It may be from, it's coming from us. So it's easy to isolate it. So all I got to do is turn everything off. I tested those things. They were worse than the phone, Doc. And she's got them in her ears. I tell her, look, you look at this. It is pegging this thing off from a foot away. It is pegging this RF meter off the flipping charts, and you're putting this in your ear.
Size doesn't matter. Size doesn't matter, Billy. You can have a little Aura ring. It's going to ping that meter like crazy just as much as a cell phone would.
It was worse. It was worse from the same distance. I was a foot away from the cell phone. Now, I did test it. Okay, you know, if I put it in airplane mode, what does it do? And folks are thinking that this thing is safe in airplane mode. I got news for you. It ain't. In my testing, it'll ping every once in a while. It may be safer, but that's like smoking. It's like somebody saying, hey, you know, I quit smoking cigarettes, man. I'm just smoking cigarettes with filters on them now. That was because the pinging, it's pinging every once in a while, and I can pick it up on that RF meter. So even having it in airplane mode is definitely not a better solution. So I'm glad you brought that stuff up. Maybe because I'm too familiar to the situation. She just went about her business, put those stupid earbuds in, and, you know, went back to what she's doing. And I see everybody wearing them. It's no wonder. I mean, I can't even begin the damage. I mean, with all the other things that are going on right now between the air, the water, the food. I mean, I have a better than organic farm here, and I'm starting to wonder, do I really have that anymore? Because every single day they're dumping poison on it. You know, we're taking every precaution we know how to, but I mean, it only goes so far. But with this, I can't even say a trifecta. I mean, it's every single, even the media we take is poison. I mean, every single, the powers that shouldn't be have got to be wondering, man, what does it take to wipe these people out? Man, we're hitting them with everything, and they're still standing there. I mean, this is absolutely crazy. This is all going to make sense here in a minute, folks, because I'm trying to weave a tapestry here that makes sense. So we covered a little bit of the home. Let me just, before we get away from the home, let me ask you about the sleep environment. What does the EMF smart sleep environment look? Not in terms of some of your mitigation strategies, but I'm saying in terms of some of the things that people can do to make their sleeping environment a little bit better, or maybe a lot better.
Yeah, well, let's look at, like, what does it look like already for you? Well, you're in a box. It's an electrical box because the whole house is wired with electricity, and you have wires maybe running in your room and through the wall that the head of your bed's on. So if your bed's touching that wall, it's charged to the level of the outlet. You have, you know, smart devices on and Wi-Fi on and Bluetooth on all these devices as well. And then there's GPS on them. So you're living in this entire area that is just has massive amounts of signals. And then if you're in a high density area, you're picking up, if you go to, you know, click on your hotspot on your computer, you can see 35, 45 different signals that you can go onto. Most of them are probably password protected, but that's that amount of, you know, wireless signals that are in your environment. And you times that times 4G is 2.45 gigahertz, so that's 2.45 billion waves per second. 5G is 60 to 90 billion waves per second. We sleep at 1 to 8 hertz or 1 to 8 waves per second when we're in a delta or theta brainwave state. So it's 10 zeros plus faster of polarizing waveforms in your environment when most people go to bed. So the goal, Billy, is to get that resonance in your home as low and as slow and as close to nature. And nature's resonance, the Schumann resonance, is 7.83 hertz. So 7.83 waves per second. We convert that hertz into a wave per second. So we're on the same page. So that's the resonance that you want to get closer to, is your home should be as low and as slow and as close to nature's resonance. Because when we're in that delta or theta brainwave state, when we have these lucid dreams, and we're really getting downloads from God and really just getting connected and restoring our health and rejuvenating our endocrine system, we have to be in those rapid eye movement, you know, brainwave states of low and slow brainwave states. And when there's billions of waves per second pinging us, what happens is your brain goes into a twilight sleep, and your brain's like, hey, what is that bandwidth? So it acts like something's tapping you on the shoulder all night. So Billy, talk to me, talk to me, talk to me. And you're going, man, I'm trying to sleep. Yeah. And they're like, talk to me, talk to me. That's what your brain goes through that cycle at night when you don't have the resonance as low as you possibly could. So what do? You turn off your electricity at night. Get the Wi-Fi on a timer, put it on an outlet timer. We have our electrical panel. We have a timer on the electrical panel that turns off the electricity into our bedrooms at night. You got to have an electrician do that for you, but that's really important. So get the resonance of your home as low and slow. Get these phones in Faraday bags, and out of the room. Charge them out of the room and put them on airplane mode. You can still hear your alarm from outside of there, but that's kind of the idea of how you go about, and understanding what our rooms and our environments typically look like.
Now, I want to also hit you up with, okay, so we covered the home, the sleep environment. I also wanted to, get a couple of questions regarding some of these vehicles out there, for crying out loud, man. I was talking about the Tesla a little while ago, but folks, I got news for you. Go out there and test a regular vehicle, especially one of these hybrids. It's not a whole lot better. It's not a whole lot better than any of the other things out there, Doc. What's going on with those things?
Yeah, you're sitting on a massive battery, so that's not enhancing. Let me just break that down for you. It's storing all this electricity, and it's just not enhancing at all in any way, shape, or form. It messes with your testosterone about 18%. It'll lower it, and so you're using more electricity to use the vehicle. There's just not a net zero. They're still using coal, cadmium, all these precious minerals, and they're just mining them in other locations. And so you don't see the emissions of the car, but the extraction, the usage, you're still using more of that coal when you're using the vehicle. And then you're ended up with, an acid-filled battery that goes directly in the landfill. So anyone who's environmentally conscious should be aware of all that too.
Man, I mean, with all the Bluetooth enabled gadgets and everything in these cars, I mean, I don't see how you escape it when you're driving. But like I said, folks, we don't bring problems on this show without at least bringing in some solutions as well. Now, someone just asked a moment ago, Dr. Frandson, are flashlights safe?
Yeah, flashlight are just a light energy, so they're photons. So with a little battery, you're perfectly fine with that. Our bodies are designed to tolerate a small little flashlight battery, and those are great. You just obviously don't want to shine them directly at your eyes. You don't shine lasers directly at your eyes, so that's why we don't want to have facial recognition on. And also, just to backtrack a sec, a lot of these newer cars, especially electric cars, they're doing these driver drowsiness warnings on the dashboard. So if your eyes drop and your head tilts and you turn down and close your eyes, all these bells and whistles go off so that they'll prevent you from falling asleep at the wheel. But I just find it ironic that the thing that's waking you up is pretty much the thing that's causing your blood to rouleau, stick and stack, and clump, that makes you tired.
Unbelievable. And folks, also with the flashlights, remember that's DC also. There's a difference between direct current and alternating current. When you're getting it from a battery, it's a little bit, well, it's actually quite a bit different. It's not going 60 cycles per second like we have in the United States of amnesia. Good night, man. And then also, if they're going back to the phone thing and, the laser shining back at you, well, surely these vehicles have to be doing the very same thing. If they're monitoring you while you're driving this thing, and like I said, folks, it's not just the Tesla, it's all these new fangled highfalutin vehicles that they have right now, and they're cooking you. I mean, they're cook, frying, and baking you 30 ways to Sunday, and we got to come up with some serious mitigation strategies. But before we come into those, Doc, I got to ask you about some of the EMFs in the workplace, because and maybe some strategies folks might be able to employ if they're working in an office building, or, AI hasn't yet taken their jobs in one of these places yet. what are some of the most common sources that people are going to encounter? And I know that's something of a rhetorical question, but I'd like for you to maybe address that, that maybe they're going to be exposed to at work, or maybe these kids in schools, because where I live seems like there's a Wi-Fi tower, a 5G tower. I swear I am not kidding. There's one right alongside the interstate about 10 miles from where I'm sitting right now. And it's in the shape of a cross. But the top part of that cross is actually a 5G tower. I kid you not. And right at the base of it is I want to say it's an elementary school.
Yeah, that is so common. Can't even tell you. So yeah, in the workplace, school place, you got to hardwire. I mean, get back to the hardwire. And we spent so much money doing it early on. And then everyone's like throwing away that money, just going wireless. Like we should have, school wise, just have computer rooms where there's a computer on each desk and it's hardwired. You don't need the wireless signals. You don't need the Wi-Fi on, all that. So yeah, that's a huge, huge thing, especially the schools, the churches are doing it. They're putting cell towers in the bell tower. So, which is, not the way I would want to be called into church, but yeah, it's a different environment out there. So we got to really look at the workplace. You don't want to be sitting with your back to the back of somebody else's computer. And so have proximity between computer to computer. If you're stacked up, see if you can hardwire the office. You can hardwire the stuff. It's faster, safer, security wise, more reliable, minimal health challenges. So we just got to look at that. And then a lot of people are having Wi-Fi routers just underneath their desk. If you're having that, man, you got to move that Wi-Fi. You got to put it behind some thick door or something. You don't want it directed at you because it's directed energy at you. And when it's one directional directed at you, it's going to chip away at your health really quickly. Some people can use, let's say my microphone right here is a router and I'm sitting right here. I can put one of our Faraday bags, which is 7 mil. It'll repel the frequencies the other direction. And so at least you can lean it against it. So if you're sitting here working, you're sending the signals the other way. Just some simple things to be aware of.
Good night, man. It is a wonder. I tell you what, I was listening to Sam Tripoli the other day. I know you're buddies with Sam. We're
going to get you on with him.
yeah, man. I'll have him cracking up. I know he's a comedian, so I have that talent as well from time to time, perhaps. But
oh yeah,
I was listening to Sam talk about how, and I never even thought about this because when I was flying back from Dallas, where I met you, I try to avoid flying as often as possible, man. If I can possibly drive, I'll always do it. Not sure that's a better solution these days, but between the TSA and the other garbage that I'm going to encounter just going through the flight, I just don't want to deal with it. But he brought up something that I thought I knew for sure I was going to have to ask you about it. He was saying, man, every time I get on a flight, it may have been him or somebody else on the program saying, when I get on a flight, man, I just feel like I got this massive headache or whatever. And then the guy, one of his sidekicks there, I think it was G or whatever, XG or whatever his name is, he says to him, you know what? I wonder if it's that TV monitor in the back of the seat that and I thought, okay, I gotta ask you about this, man. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, it's tough. And I just said, stay away from the back of a screen. Same thing on those chairs and the car. Same with these cars, like these Cadillacs. Are like, they got a TV camera or a TV monitor for the kid behind the driver's seat, behind the passenger seat. You don't want that. Whenever I get on one of those flights, I'm like, oh man, I literally just sit and lean forward the whole time. And I have a grounding bag on my sacrum for low back support. So I have coherence there, but I just try to get so I'm not directly on it. I'll lean to the side or a little forward so it doesn't hit me direct on.
Well, I got another question here, and then I'll move on to something. Well, I got a whole list of them here, but somebody's asking about the red light therapy panels, and they're saying, hey, those can't be safe. Well, I got a theory on how to mitigate what may be coming off of those, but what are your thoughts about the people that have these panels, these red light therapy panels?
Well, you got to take this for what it is. There's so many great products that use electricity for medicinal purposes, right? Machines and sound beds, bioharmonic technology sound bed, which has transducers in it, pumping up frequencies that are medicinal. You have PEMF units, you have the red beds, all the, I mean, the list goes on and on as far as what people use at home to really heal. When you're in those, anytime I'm using those, we use a grounding bag, and that creates more of a coherence for them in it. So we can clean it up with our product, with the grounding bag. But if you don't have the grounding bag, you're still going to get the medicinal properties of it, because you're only in there for short durations. I mean, the longest you're going to be doing something is an hour, maybe, something like that, maybe 90 minutes. Like they're going to be doing more good to you than harm when you do those short durations with all those different healing modalities and so many more. But I always defer to cleaning up the electricity that are in them. Even if it's a med bed, you gotta, and they say it's grounded and it's plugged into the outlet of the ground. No. Like that doesn't work. That's dirty. It's just pulling in too much electricity. And the grounding bags are going to be the answer for all of the different products. You put this on there and it'll clear it. And the reason I know this to be true is when I first started in this, Billy, we had a client call us, and he had a office. They put a cell tower, massive cell tower, literally right on the other side of his wall, just blasting him. And he's like, I got to stay here and my phones don't work. So he had a corded phone and it didn't work. And so the corded phones were getting disrupted, because remember, electricity doesn't just travel within wires. It travels outside of them too. That's why I can take a milligauss meter and meter an outlet several feet away. We put about 5 to 7 grounding bags in his office and lean it up against the electrical outlet and on the floor and touching the wall, and his phone started to work again. I haven't heard from him since, because literally the phones work now. And that was the only thing. He's like, I don't care. It's not going to affect my health. Like he didn't get it. But at least I know that we didn't get a call like a month later, a year later from him going, my phones don't work anymore at all. Like he was just happy with the result. So I know that nature has the healing potential. It has all the answers. She knew we were going to radiate the crap out of ourselves. And so we just have been the first ones to find the crystals that have the exact same makeup that we have, that can create a coherence for you. So you can use all these devices, you can use technology, but not let it use you.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I wanted to go, that's exactly the direction I want to go into. Folks, you know my policy here on this show. I don't bring you anything that I don't use and I don't purchase myself. I got to talk about some of these mitigation strategies. Look, y'all, I got it on my hip right next to my whip. Okay. I'm going to pull it out right now. And I'm talking about this grounding bag. I was like, man, this could be so easily misunderstood.
The mini grounding bag. He just pulled it out of his pocket.
I just pulled this grounding bag out of my pocket, and I took the tag off of it. But I always wear pants because of, I'm a farmer, and I do a lot of, permaculture designer and farmer, and wear a lot of different hats. But I always wear pants that have cargo pockets in them, and that's exactly where I put this thing. And it's like, it's part of my EDC, or what we call in the preparedness trade, a everyday carry. I don't leave home without it. The only time this thing comes out of my pocket is when I'm going to set it down to go let it recharge on the ground or something like that. But folks, look, I bought 2 of these from Dr. Frandson when I was at the event. And I don't let anybody just give me anything, because then they feel as if, and he didn't even offer to give it to me. I was like, okay, let me buy a couple of these things. Let me see if it works. First night at that hotel, I didn't sleep good at all, any single night there. I laid that thing in the bed with me, and I thought, I woke up feeling like I could go after Moby Dick in a rowboat and take the tartar sauce with me. I sat there and I thought, okay, this has got to be a placebo. I look over to my son who's in the other bed, and I said, son, how'd you sleep with that thing. He says, what are you talking about? I said, that bag I gave you. He said, oh, I'm supposed to sleep with it. I'm like, well, yeah, we're here. So long story less long, I hope. I get back and I'm like, okay, I'm a hard sell on a lot of this stuff, folks. I was not believing it at first. Then I put it in the bedroom. And then I said, okay, it looks like this thing might be working. Let me buy about 4 more of them and a couple of these little pouches so I could Michelle could carry one around and so could I. So I got 4 more. And I'm like, okay, this thing's working so well. And then I asked my son, folks, you've heard him right here in this show. And I asked him, I said, well, how are y'all doing? He said, well, we're kind of taking back, we let the baby sleep with it and we sleep with it. And I'm like, hold on, man, I'll just buy a few more of them and send them your way. I don't know exactly what's going on in this bag, and if I ask there's an MD in my family, I could ask, he thinks homeostasis is probably a sexual orientation. So I'm not going to be asking him what this thing's doing, but man, why don't you tell us what's in this bag and how people can get their hands on it?
Yeah, thanks, Billy. I mean, it was fun. I like people getting them and then just doing what you did, test and see how they feel on their own, because how you feel it is the litmus for me. And yeah, we've done a lot of doctor tests and we've done sleep tests. Your deep sleep improves up to 60%. We've done waveform tests where clinically passively treats up to 91% of markers off. We've done circulation tests with Dr. Patrick Porter's chief tech guy, and your circulation improves about 52% instantly because we know that the blood slows and clumps. So we know it's doing some massive stuff, creating coherence in our energy field, which directly improves the chemistry of your body. And so we're the first, again, to hand mine crystals. And these crystals are the exact same chemical makeup that we have, Billy. They have moisture and magnetic properties. So shungite, amethyst, black tourmaline, all those other known crystals for EMF protection, they have maybe about 1% moisture in them. They're solid. You can display them, you can wear them, you can show them off as jewelry and have these incredible pieces. You can't with ours. They're beautiful pink crystals, but we got to keep them sealed. We deploy them in this grounding bag, and you keep this the way it is. There's no need to open it. You put it on your bed, touching your bed anywhere. I like it at the head of the bed between the mattress and the headboard where you won't bump into it. You'll sleep up to 60% deeper, like literally. And Dr. Rodney White did his test for 3 months and his sleep improved 60%. And then after 3 months, he's like, okay, I'm finally done testing. Like, I've never tested anything that worked for this long and this good. And so that's why, though, is we're just bringing nature and her resonance into your environment, and it creates a coherence.
Now, everybody's going to ask, they're going to wonder. Now, I got to ask this question because surely somebody's going to be thinking it out there. Now, let's say your RF meter is reading whatever, and clearly you want to do all the mitigation strategies. I mean, if you could possibly get rid of the electrical load in your bedroom, especially, turn the breaker off, whatever it is you need to do, you want to do those things. But there's these transient things that are going around you. And in the electric trade, we call it the right-hand rule. Like Dr. Frandson was mentioning a moment ago, you're going to get magnetic flux, and depending on the meter you have, you can get it from several feet away to across the room, depending on what it is you have. Now, everybody's going to think, oh, shoot, hey, man, my cell phone's off and running. I got this, I got that. But the RF meter doesn't show a change in it. That's going to seem a tough pill to swallow unless they understand that. So because they're going to think, okay, I got this bag next to my phone, I shouldn't read anything on my RF meter. Why is that not the case?
Yeah, great question. And that's one of the big questions we get. And I've kind of already answered it. We look at how the body responds, not how a meter. Our products aren't a blocking device. I never will claim that, hey, your signal strength will go from this to nothing. If that were the case, you couldn't use the technology at all, anything. So what we're doing is we're looking at a coherent product, the product that it has the exact same, mimics exact same properties that we have, that does the healing potential what nature offers, which is creates coherence. So if you can convert one directional waveforms into something that's unpolarized, that distributes equally, our bodies will accept it and maybe even benefit from it. So that's what we're seeing. So everyone wants to get a meter and say the meter changes, but I mean, yeah, I can show you how the meter can drop a little bit with them. We can get that, but that's not what we're looking at. We're looking at how your body, what does the chemistry of your body do in response? So you got to look at pH and blood and your energy levels and your deep sleep and the waveforms and all the things that I mentioned. That's what you have to look at. And those are all the tests that we've done that show it, that you can even do on your own. And then even the other part, I do lots of I'm applied kinesiologist. So I've been muscle testing, for over 30 some years. And I'm really proficient at it. And that's what muscle testers, the AK docs, applied kinesiologists, that's what they call them, muscle testers. Those guys love these products because they can feel the resonance. And most people, when you bring it up to them, they'll test really strong. And if they don't test strong with it, the other part of this is there's a detox protocol that you have to go to. Our EMF Rocks grounding bags, they're the only product on the market that you can actually detox your biofield with. You can use them to flush your energy. So you can tap on the bag, recharge your thymus, your eyes, your teeth, and your intestines, and tap on the bag through a succussion technique, which is like shaking something up. That activates the properties. You direct them to those areas. Your thymus is your master immune energy gland. So if that's decharged, you're not going to have any energy. So our products work so well, and you could show them on the body how the body responds in an array of different ways.
Well, it certainly worked on me. I mean, I remember you showing me just how toxic this phone was that I had in my pocket, even though it was in airplane mode. I mean, strangely enough, it was in airplane mode, and this thing was still, as I was telling you a moment ago, folks, it was still very much toxic. And, having these bags, the thing that really got me is that, man, I was like, man, I hope I'm not falling for some placebo here. But until my wife gives it the okay, and then my son, who I know is very, very sensitive to these things, once he gave the okay, I was like, okay, it's okay for me to confirm what I'm already seeing. And folks, I think at this point I probably bought, I mean, man, there's not a place in this house, this thing. Is it okay? Because I've been doing this little experiment where the Wi-Fi router, when I do have it on, I have a little permeable silver bag that goes over the top of it. Is it okay to stick one of these bags right alongside the router and then cover the whole thing up with a little hat that blunts the wave coming off of that router?
Yeah, you can put it there just to make sure it can breathe, and doesn't get overheated. But you can always clear a source directly. I like so our protocols, we're dealing with nature's resonance. So it's different for a lot of people to understand. I mean, you could see Kirlian photography, you can see our biofield. That's the world we're living in. And yes, the sound that the EMF meters make. So if I put an RF meter, radio frequency, or acoustometer up next to your cell phone, and you search on, whatever browser, the thing's going to start screaming. The meter will start screaming. Those are the sounds that we'll hear, our bodies will hear. Most humans don't have, it's not at the bandwidth that we can hear. We'll hear electricity way better underwater than we do on land, but our bodies feel it, the animals feel it, the plants, the nerves of the plants feel it as well. So yeah, you gotta look at all that, when you're clearing it. We're looking at how does the body respond to it, and that's the main thing. And these meters showcase it, and the sound that they're making, it's literally noise pollution, and we just don't mostly hear it. But we're dealing with something that can't be seen but can be heard through what the meters show is here, can hear, or what animals can hear. I mean, anytime those phones, like you get a little Snapchat or it goes buzzes, or a text comes in or whatever ping that makes, my dog freaks out. If somebody will have a device near him, the dog just starts running the corner and like wants to get away from it. It's like someone just whistled as loud as they could in their ear. That's what our nervous system's hearing all the time.
Doesn't sound good. I got one more question before I go to some of these ones in the chat. I'm wondering, can you overdo it with these things? Because I figured I better ask you this. I got 3 of these big ones on the bed. I mean, and I put it exactly. There's 3 of them at the head of the bed, in between the mattress and the headboard. Is that cool? Can you go too heavy on these things, or no?
Not at all, Bill. You can't get enough good from nature, and that was what I was getting towards. Is that protocol? So at least 1 grounding bag per bed. More is better. If you have more of a stressor, you want more. That'll get you that up to 60% deeper sleep. And then 5 grounding bags clear 2,000 square feet of your home. 7 if you have solar. Excuse me. And you want at least 1 on a desk, or at least 1 on a car seat. And if it's a newer car with all the EMFs, I might even say go with a couple underneath the back of your car seat. And then obviously electric cars. Again, not a fan of them at all. Don't recommend them at all for health benefits and health reasons for people. But 7 grounding bags behind the driver's seat of the car will help create coherence for that driver.
Wow, man. Yeah, I think I'm going to pass on some of that. Man, I'm wishing I'd have kept my old Dodge now. We got some questions here, Doc. One of them is asking, Chris White saying, grounding mats / sheets plugged into the outlets are a farce. First of all, let me just jump on that one real quick. Folks, don't ever plug anything into the wall. If you're going to go any kind of grounded anything, I would independently ground it. No way on earth, because of all the dirty electricity out there, would I ever plug anything into the wall. But what are your thoughts on that, Doc?
Yeah, you said it best. I mean, you need the 2-pronged ground. So you need the home properly ground, number 1. I think Healing for the Ages docs did a huge study. I mean, look at Dr. Ely's work on it. And I think 99% of the products they tested didn't even work, like literally. And they spent thousands of dollars buying every single one, and he would test it. And yeah, some of them are showing that you pull electrons up on the bed, but remember, it's not telling the whole story, because I can measure an outlet several feet away, so electricity doesn't just travel inside the wire, but then it's also not clearing anything in your environment with wireless signal. So even if it does show some electrons, which I just don't fully buy it all the time, I don't feel they're telling the whole story. Out of the 99% that don't work, 50% of the people that use those that'll at least have a home properly grounded, 50% will say they have bugs crawling all over their skin when they're using it. There's just something that doesn't add up for me. I just we want to get away from technology, not use it or something really near it, or something that everything's plugged into it in your home and going out that same ground to ground it. You got to look at nature's resonance. What I found is, and test it for yourself, the most effective way for you to go from a dirty home to a cleaner home is with our EMF Rocks grounding bags, and using nature's natural resonance with that on your bed. As long as it's touching your bed, you'll get that deeper sleep and you'll start to feel so much better, and it's cumulative. And one other note I want to add, my wife was going through early menopause when I first started bringing these to market about 8 years ago. And her cycle had stopped, menstrual cycle completely stopped. And she was in her 40s, like late 40s, and it was early on menopause. She was waking up every night with night sweats, like crazy sweats every night for 3 months. I'm like, what the heck's going on? She's like, what's the heck? I got menopause. I'm in my 40s. And she's a marathon runner, super fit, healthy, and really good energy. O negative blood type, more EMF resilient than most. Billy, the second I loaded our bed in our room up with the grounding bags, her cycle returned and she started sleeping through the night.
Well, I can tell you this much, just from electrical theory alone. I've never been a big fan of the grounding sheets, and folks, I've tried them all. Believe me, I have tried them all. The grounding mats, when they came from Clint Ober, they worked. I mean, I could absolutely tell that it was doing what it was supposed to. But those sheets, you're going to spend a king's ransom on them, and after you wash those sheets a couple of times, you don't get any more continuity out of those threads. And here's another thing that to my knowledge, I'm the only one that's ever talked about this. When you have a conductive surface and you have something between another conductive surface, folks, that is the definition of a capacitor. You're turning your body into a capacitor when you are becoming what's called a dielectric. When you have a conductive surface, you're between that conductive surface. So let's say your fitted sheet it's grounded or whatever, and your sheet above, well, you just became a capacitor. And I was like, why on earth am I feeling so awful by sleeping with this thing? And then it hit me. I'm like, hold on, man. I think I'm turning myself into a capacitor, but I can't believe nobody's ever thought of this before. Wow. So I pulled off one of the sheets. So now I have a conductive surface on either the top or the bottom, not both. And now all of a sudden it was working better, but still a far cry away from these grounding bags. So folks, I'm never, ever going to suggest, look, I know I got some sponsors here that sell some of this stuff. That's why I talk about some of the mats out there. But on the same token, you don't want to be a dielectric because you just turned yourself into a capacitor. I don't know anybody else. A capacitor can basically hold a whole lot of voltage. You never want to be that. So I don't know that anybody's ever talked about that, but theoretically, I think that's what's going on there. But
yeah, that's an interesting. Well. That's super interesting, Billy. I mean, it really is. And I love Clint Ober's book, Earthing. I think everyone should buy it and read it. And it shows how powerful the earth is at grounding and healing and facilitating healing. And the first step to anyone's healing journey is to get grounded by nature and to recharge your body battery. And especially any of the weak links for the body from EMF, and the grounding bags will help you even localize doing it. We use also Dr. Rick Amy's True Laser on it to even amplify it even more. But it's kind of the same thing. I don't like his products. I don't like grounding sheets. And I love Dr. Mercola's work. I love the book EMF'd. But his answer is to sleep in a Faraday tent. And if I brought home a tent and said, hey, honey, we're sleeping in the tent tonight, she'd be like, no way. You're outside with the dog in the tent. I'm in the house in my bed. So you guys, you gotta, there's great information, but it doesn't always translate into great products.
Well, also to that point, as far as sleeping in a Faraday cage, I think Dr. Robert O. Becker proved, I mean, there were some studies done where they put people in Faraday cages and it did not work out well for them. That's not the way we're supposed to be in coherence, just like you said. And yeah. I think I could absolutely prove some of that, but we got another question here. Somebody's asking, hey, Alabama's asking, has anyone ever used these and went back for a checkup and their doctor said their BP and such was good? And I have to say it that way because if I say what it is, maybe, I don't know, the powers that shouldn't be will cut this feed. So if people basically going back, after using this thing and they got a good bill of health, or
yeah, you're going to start to see so much of your body improve. So just think, if your endocrine system's able to get into deeper sleep and repair, how much more of the heart coherence you're going to have. So heart rate variability is just yet another test we can do to show that it helps with this. Because EMFs, I mean, our bodies are electric. We're electric beings. We're a holograph of light, and we're energy and water. And we run on pressure systems. So if there's something that's disrupting any of the electricity, it's going to mess with the pressure. So then your heart won't work as efficiently. So if that changes any pressure system in your body, you'll start to feel it there. So if you can normalize some of those EMFs in your environment, the whole becomes stronger. You won't be as EMF sensitive, that you're going to start to not break down as much and all. You're going to just overall feel a lot better, but your cognitive function is going to work. Because remember, the focus, like all cognitive, are the first signs of EMF stuff, and then you get into the bigs, as it progressively goes on up.
Now we got one more question. I definitely want to ask about this. We use 100% linen, my wife and I. Does it make a difference? Somebody else is asking here in the chat, does the linen sheets, do they make a difference as opposed to, let's say, somebody using cotton or some synthetic material, or, is there a difference between them all? Does one work better?
Yeah. Well, for EMF protection, I would say there's no major difference per se. If you're in a linen sheet and you have a Wi-Fi router next to you, you still have a Wi-Fi router next to you. So, but linen sheets will improve your energy field up to, I forget, I think Ian Clark did a study on it. He has activation products, some of my favorite, iodine, and he has some other great products, but he did a test, and the linen helps up to your biofield like about 50% or more. So linen's probably the best to wear just for the energy of your body to amplify it. Cotton would be more of a normalized energy, or maybe a little beneficial for you. But you start getting into all the synthetics and the plastics, they're going to be negative benefit for you.
Man, that's what I'm talking about. Well, man, we've kind of run the course here, Doc. I mean, man, I still have a bunch of questions. We'll have to have you back because, man, I'm still leaving so many questions on the table here. Look, tell everybody where they can get this. Folks, I'm going to tell you straight. I mean, I buy this product. I use it. Dr. Frandson has been kind enough to help me out with some stuff, some experiments that I'm conducting right now with compost. And we'll have more answers by the time spring rolls around. Where can everybody get this? You got these little bags for, everyday carry, as I have it. And then you got the big ones that you can do. And then plus he's got a lot of information right there on the website. So where does everybody go to, to acquire these bags that I got, so many of, and I think I want to buy a bunch more.
Thanks, Billy. Yeah, go to emfrocks.com, and I think you might have a little promotion going for your deals for your audience and community. But emfrocks.com is where you get them, and so that's where you go. You can go to athleticism.com, spelled athletic, ism.com. We have a lot of our other products on there, including toothpaste and other people's products.
The chain, by the way. No, we love that toothpaste. In fact, I told my wife to order more of it. That whole canister, bro, we've already gone through it.
Yeah. Toothpaste is game changer. It's mineral toothpaste. Remember, we have access to mine, so we mine minerals, and we just do mineral and essential oil, organic, and then some water. And it feels like your teeth just got cleaned at the dentist. So freshens your breath. Really good stuff. So yeah, check out emfrocks.com, athleticism.com. You can find us on Instagram at emfrocks, or at athleticism neurostacking. And that's where I do nerve work, treat concussions, and do fascia work with my clients as well. I'm a brand partner for Human Garage, and I take over their Instagram every Friday at noon Pacific time, and you're gonna hear the legendary Billy Bond on that as well very soon, right?
Right on, bro. Anytime.
So yeah, so that's where you can find me and all those different channels, and we have a great community. We're just really getting everyone to understand the physics behind all our environment is and how we interplay with it. And once we do that, we could start establishing usage protocols, proximity avoidance protocols, and then coherence protocols with our grounding bags. And then probably the best thing you could do is, and what I do, I'm a waterman. I get out in the ocean and I'm walking barefoot, walk the dog outside every morning, go barefoot. I do my fascia maneuvers. I jump in the ocean pretty much every day of the year. It's about low 60s right now. I was in it last Sunday for about 45 minutes, no wetsuit. I mean, I'm walking the walk, everybody. we're doing it. And Billy, I invite you out here to do it with me and jump in the water with me. I mean, we'll show you that you got to get grounded by nature, and that's how you stay healthy and get all this extra wattage off of your body.
Man, I definitely am a big fan of everything you're talking about there, and I'm definitely a big fan of these bags, folks. Promo code PERMA will get you a discount, and it's so good to be able. People have been asking me forever and a day with my electrical background, what do you? And folks, everybody and the great grandmother has pitched me with all these different things, and I try them, and I'm like, I don't see the needle move. I don't feel the difference. My family doesn't either. So, I've come up with things that I thought might be solutions. At the end of the day, folks, I'll be honest with you, man, this is the only one. I carry this thing. I kid you not. I carry it around like it is part of my everyday carry, because it really, truly is, because we're being hit in every single direction, folks. I just want you guys to have the very best out there. Remember, promo code PERMA will get you a discount. I want to thank you so much for coming on, Doc.
Hey, you're the man. And last thing, you're doing the grounding protocols too. I mean, you're out there, you're actually getting grounded all the time as well. So you're farming your incredible farm barefoot, naked, and you're touching the soil, you're getting out there. You guys, we got to get back to touching trees, touching soil, and getting that coherence back in our environment so we can get grounded by nature. And it's free when you do it that way. And then when you're inside, use the grounding bags and let's coexist with the all this tech in our world.
That's what I'm talking about, y'all. We live in a crazy place, and you know the deal. It's wild. So until next time, you know the deal, y'all. Stay alert, stay alive.
The knowledge rings, roots that run deep, wisdom from soul, permaculture dreams. Let the ideas unfold. I'm moving with the truth, feeling nature's food. Who's got the answers? All we need to do, listen to the earth, they got us through. Let's see the change, watch the world spin. From the smallest sprout to harmony begin. In the cycle of life, where the magic's alive. To the